going to look at solving multi-step equations. And we're going to start with something that you're already familiar with, two-step equation. I'm going to show you a method today here, creating a do and undo table. It's not something that you have to use, but it's just a way to organize your thought process. And some of this you may start to do just in your head after you have done several problems. But you may want to use the chart just to keep you organized. If you are struggling with solving equations, and if you're not getting the correct answers, you may want to go back to doing a do and undo chart. So two-step equations. To solve an equation, we must isolate the variable by undoing what was done to it. So if you look at this example, 3x plus 1 is equal to 4. So we're looking at the variable. We see it, it's x. And we're looking at what's being done to it. We notice that the first thing that I see that's being done to it is being multiplied by 3. So it's being multiplied by 3. And then it is being added, or 1 is being added to it. And then we have to think, well, how do I undo that? Well, I undo multiplying by 3 by dividing by 3. See how, notice how the chart shows you put that at the bottom? And then I undo adding 1 by subtracting 1. Once I've done my chart, I'm going to focus in this area because that's how I solve the equation, by doing the part that says undo. So starting with this first problem, I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides because that's what my chart says to do. I'm doing that step 1. And I have 3x is equal to 3. Then, I've done that. So now I want to go to step 2, which says to divide both sides by 3. So x is equal to 1. I did that. Now I'm done. I've isolated my variable. As far as the property, we're not going to worry about the property. If you recall last class, we did look at some properties. Right here we subtracted, so that's subtraction property. And here we divided, so that's division property. Now what happens if it's not a two-step equation? What if it's more complicated? Well, if we have some distributing, we take care of that first. So if we notice that there's some distributing in our problem, we distribute first. Then we follow the steps that we just did. So my first step on this problem is to distribute. So it's negative 24x minus 16 is equal to 56. Now I do have a two-step equation, so I can do my chart. And I'm focusing on my x, and I'm looking. I'm saying, what is happening to that x? Well, what's the first thing I notice that's happening to it is it is being multiplied by negative 24. And then the second thing I notice is that it's being subtracted by 16. Now I undo in the opposite order. So I'm looking at subtracting by 16. To undo subtraction, I do addition. So I add 16 to both sides. And then to undo multiplication, I divide, and I'm going to divide by negative 24. So those are the steps I follow. So I add 16 to both sides. Negative 24x is equal to 72. And then I've done step 1, so I've added 16 to both sides. And now I'm going to do step 2, which is dividing by negative 24. So I divide by negative 24. And of course, at this point, if you need a calculator, you should be using a calculator. Don't be trying to do everything in your head. It'll just take you too long. So then x is a negative 3. So you're always looking at this here, thinking about this. Where's the variable? What's being done to it? Making that table if you need to. Some of us will be able to not make the table, we'll be able to make the table in our head. Thinking about what operation undoes each thing that's happening to the variable, and then just going ahead and applying those. Now, what if we have some like terms? Well, you would combine like terms first. Combine those like terms. Remember, like terms have to be on the same side of the equation. If they are on opposite sides of the equation, they're not considered like terms. You're just going to solve the equation. So first step, combine like terms. So I'm looking here, I have 5y minus 2y, so that's 3y. 3y minus 3 is equal to negative 6. Now I'm going to see, look at my variable, what is happening to it. I can see that it's being multiplied by 3, and then it's being subtracted by 3. To undo subtracting by 3, I add 3. And to undo multiplying by 3, I divide by 3. Now I know from this table what my steps are. So step number 1, I'm adding 3 to both sides. 3y is equal to negative 3. It's step 1. Step 2, I'm dividing by 3. So y is equal to a negative 1. Did step 2, and now I'm done. Now, it can get a little bit more complicated. What if that's all together? What if we have all of those things together, distributing and combining like terms? Well, always in a problem, if you have some distributing, do that first. So distribute first. Then combine like terms. Then we make our table and solve. So first step in this problem is to distribute. And I'm distributing a negative 2. Make sure you always pay attention to the sign. So 8a minus 6a plus 8 is equal to a negative 12. Then I need to combine like terms. I do have like terms in this problem, so I'm going to put those together. 2a plus 8 is equal to a negative 12. Then I can make my table. I look at my variable. There he is, a. What's happening to him? He's being multiplied by 2. That's what's right next to him. And then added 8. Added by 8. And then how do I get rid of adding 8? I subtract 8. And how do I get rid of multiplying by 2? I divide by 2. So I'm just going to do the opposite, and then I have to do it in the order that's in my table. So my table says to minus 8. So I'm going to minus 8 from both sides. 2a is equal to negative 20. So I did that step. Next step says to divide by 2. So that's what I'm going to do. Both sides, I'm going to divide by 2. I'm going to have a is equal to a negative 10. Did that last step. I'm done. There you go. All right, now it's your turn to do the you-dos. If you're not sure how to set it up, go back through your notes and look at the table. Use the table. It's a good idea. And you can always rewind the video and watch it.